I was paying the bills. I was helping patients get better. I enjoyed my practice, my collections in the office. It was just shy of 300,000 annually. But then I experienced a bad accountant, and I had a violent IRS investigation for payroll not being filed correctly. There was interest and penalties. I had an IRS agent at my office. Around the same time, I had a car wreck, caused pretty extensive neck injury. When I started realizing I wasn't able to do things, and my world took a fatal nosedive. So I didn't know what to do with the IRS. I didn't know what to do with, what if I can't adjust somebody due to physical issues. I really had no savings. I had really no plan at all on financial if something were to go wrong. I had to take a really hard self-evaluation, and I determined that the path I was on was going to lead down to an end I didn't want to see. So between the IRS confusion, the health issue getting worse, and the realization that I had literally nothing to my name but a clinic and a car, I got into a depression spiral that wasn't good. I didn't like what I was doing, and bitterness set in on me, and the love of chiropractic was just really sliding away from me. And so that's where I stood. And then one day I was just reading a little ad on ChiroWealth, and I saw it, and I thought, there's somebody that mentioned the term wealth that I've never heard. I've always heard get new patients. I've always heard keep your patients, boost your practice, but I've never heard the term wealth. So that caught my attention. So I made an appointment with Bruce Reimer, and I looked up at a couple of interviews on the internet, which I really didn't give a ton of credence to because I'd been to practice management groups. They're going to build themselves up. They're going to make you think that you couldn't do anything if you hadn't got to us. But I've had an internal feeling that I thought, well, I really need to keep this appointment, and I need to hear what they have to say about this because the status I'm at is not working. I had the interview, and luckily, first call that I had with Bruce at ChiroWealth stimulated my thinking. He was able to, first of all, just pretty much reassure me that the problem really wasn't my practice model. It wasn't my practice model. It wasn't that I was not helping people or lack of training or understanding of anything other than I lacked training and understanding in the way money works, and I had no financial plan. So right there let me know, hey, I might be onto something. This is something I've never been taught. I've never been trained in. This is something no one's ever explained to me before. That kept my attention. Through the first few months, I was educated, first of all, on how money works. It wasn't what common people think about money. I was educated to the thought that the principle of money was a wild animal and it needed to be understood, first of all. Second of all, it needed to be hunted, and not only hunted, but it needed to be captured. If it would not have all of those things in place, it would be like every other wild animal. You would see it here on the side of the road, but you can't reach out and touch it. You can't put it in a jar. You can't take it home. So that whole thing really opened my mind and thinking without changing anything in the operation of my office. It didn't increase my total collections or anything like that. But what I started seeing when I started applying the financial plan that ChiroWealth helped me put together, I started seeing my savings account increase by rates that I hadn't even thought of. And the funny thing is, I would go in between patients, I would get on my phone and check my bank account and say, yes, there is that amount of money there. I would be confused. I haven't increased my money. I haven't increased patients, but I've got all this money sitting in an account. And so it wasn't, like I said, it was confusing to my old thinking of how money worked. ChiroWealth changed really nothing at first in my practice model. They just put me into a financial plan that helped me capture what I was losing. Okay, so after that, my confidence really started growing. The enjoyment of chiropractic returned. Okay, so when you have confidence in what you're doing, you're getting paid, and you're saving money for the future, that really does change your outlook on life. My confidence grew. Like I said, the enjoyment returned. I was able to get through the IRS issues, I guarantee 10 times faster than what it would have been if I hadn't had a plan. Obviously, when you have new excitement and you have a new confidence that you hadn't had in a while. Depression's gone. Then came expansion and growth. So when you get your financial side straightened out, from what I'm learned, the practice model grows. So sometimes instead of getting new patients, we just need to know how to capture the benefits of the patients that we have. And when we have that stored and set up, that allows our mind and our thinking to be able to operate under less stress. Lets your growth just start to happen. So basically, after all that happened, my collections tripled in just a 2-year period. My savings account still is growing, and I'm in awe of that. In fact, just a side note on my personal life, last year, due to this vehicle accident, my health has been deteriorating. And last year I had to take 3 months off of practice for neck fusion surgery. I had a triple fusion. And I had things in place with ChiroWealth, with their guidance, that I still increased in growth, and I wasn't even there. I was 3 months off. And so this whole program gave me the confidence to know if everything's in place, it's almost an autopilot. So I was able to bring in a temporary chiropractor that worked for me. We paid them and made money, made profit off of the whole thing. So in another aspect of my life, ChiroWealth also helped me take a look at my tax burdens. And when my tax burdens were reviewed, ChiroWealth's connections in the tax area, I was able to take my wife to Hawaii on a refund check that I got from the IRS. Okay, so remember, I was in trouble with the IRS for a bad accountant. So I went from that to getting a refund check large enough to take a week's vacation, not worrying about the practice. It still grew, it still profited that week. And it also allowed my wife and I to have bonding time, which we hadn't had for years, all because of how to reduce my tax burden. I would say if you're listening to my story, what you need to realize is I'm a common person. My town that I started practicing in, 3,000 was the population. My growth and expansion that I've had now, I'm actually in 3 cities now, and I'm able to train chiropractors on how to be successful. Because if we don't get this principle, if we don't get that money is a wild animal, and if we don't have a plan, we can be the best chiropractor in the world, and we can adjust patients and get sick people better. But if we can't keep our doors open and we can't have a future in a retirement, then we're not going to have the motivation to continue.